Hello, how are y'all doing today? My name is Bernie Thompson, and today I want to take you through the proper techniques and setups with the 3C Intelligent Engine Cleaner. Now obviously this will be at a very high level. What you're going to need to do is to thoroughly read the manual and understand the manual thoroughly before cleaning a car. But I just want to take you through a few higher level things: scanning the vehicle, understanding what codes are there, how we connect to the vehicle, what to do and what not to do, and once the vehicle is running, how are we going to operate this vehicle during a cleaning process. Let's go ahead and take a look at the scan data. The first thing that we want to do is connect the scan tool and have communications with the engine control module. We've done that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the DTCs. On this vehicle, the DTC is saying that we have a catalyst with a catalyst efficiency issue. So right away, we need to note that, and we need to realize that the cat has some type of a problem. Doesn't mean the cat's bad. The air-fuel mixtures, we could have leaks in the exhaust. There's many things that might be able to cause this problem, but we want to make sure that we take the note and we know the catalyst is bad at this time. The next thing when we got the scan tool that we want to do is we want to go to the PIDs. On the PIDs, we want to find the PID to where it tells us the catalyst temperature for bank 1 and, if applicable, bank 2. We want to bring this up, and during the cleaning, as I'm going to show you shortly, we're going to keep an eye on the cat temp. Now that we've retrieved the data with the scan tool from the ECM, we want to go ahead and we want to see how we're going to connect the 3C. Now this is one of the most important things of the whole cleaning process. You must find a common vacuum port that's behind the throttle blade, preferably the purge or the PCV. We never want to put the chemical into an end port or somewhere that's not centrally located. If we use a purge or we use a PCV, the engineers that have taken the purge system, which is taking fuel vapor, hydrocarbons, through a vacuum system, and it's being put into the engine. They put this in to where the fuel vapor can be equally distributed to all the cylinders. Otherwise, the car would fail the federal test procedure. So this is a really good location to put the chemical in. It means when we put the chemical in, it's going to be centralized, and I'll be able to get the chemical to all the cylinders evenly. We would never put the chemical like on maybe a brake booster line that's on one side of the manifold. Many times the brake booster lines, that's more a packaging concern. It's easier to catch the vacuum on one side of the manifold. Now if we put the chemical into the intake and it's all on one side, we'll put all the chemical into one or two cylinders, and if you don't damage the motor, you're going to damage the cat. So we don't want to do either of those. We always want to look for a very centralized location, such as a purge or a PCV. If this location does not exist on the vehicle that you're going to work on, then we don't clean that vehicle. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at this car's. I've removed the air filter assembly and housing off of this engine. Now we need to look at the manifold, and we need to look for an access to get the chemical into the engine. Right away, I don't see any type of vacuum on this engine, but I do see that I've got a boost sensor, map sensor right here in the back of the intake. Now if I pulled that out and I put the chemical in there, all of the chemical would go to the rear two cylinders, and these front cylinders wouldn't have any chemical application. Since all the chemical would go to the rear, you would either damage the engine or the cat, and that's unacceptable. The only place that you can put the chemical in is right behind the throttle housing, very close to it. On this N55, underneath here, there's a purge hose and assembly. We're going to take the purge off and we're going to go in there. In order to do this, we need to take the throttle housing off. It comes off very quickly with just these 4 screws. We're going to go ahead and remove that, and then we're going to get our hose on there, and we'll put this housing back on with 2 screws. Let's go ahead and take care of that. Now that I've removed the throttle body back, we can see the port entrance, and the port entrance comes in behind the throttle blade. That will allow the 3C machine to fog chemical into the intake where it will be dispensed on the whole engine and evenly dispersed. Only use the ATS hose assembly. These hoses are made of a special material that won't allow the chemical to stick to it, so it will blow through freely. Additionally, the inside diameter is very small, keeping the velocity of the chemical in air at a very high moving rate, so once it comes into the system, it will be carried and it will remain as an aerosol. Just put the hose on, and then you're going to put this back on. I want to make a point that the only place that this is ever attached to, the ATS hose, is to the port on the induction system. You would never use an interim hose between the port and my line. What will happen is that will cause the chemical to fall out of the air, puddling in the motor. This would either cause catalytic damage or engine damage. You only use the hoses supplied by ATS, and they must be put directly to the port. If you add a hose assembly like this that someone has made to do the cleaning with, and this was put on to the port, now this hose diameter is so large that the velocity and the volume will change in the hose, and this will just put a pure liquid format in here, and the liquid will be pulled into only several cylinders. No longer being an aerosol, this could damage the engine. Let me show you the difference between these hoses. Let me demonstrate the difference between the application. First, we're going to shoot the injector, and you're going to see a very fine mist that will come out of the injector. This mist will stay totally airborne within the induction system of the engine. Now let me demonstrate, if we use the wrong hose assembly, what's going to happen to your engine. Now we've just seen the fine mist that would come out of this nozzle, and it would be blown into the intake system of your vehicle. Now we're going to look at what happens with the wrong hose assembly. Do you see it just running out? Well, that liquid base is going to end up in your engine, and that can damage your engine or the catalytic converter. Again, I want to stress, we only use the ATS hoses directly coupled to the manifold of your induction system. Now that we've got the ATS approved hose onto the fitting, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this throttle body back on. The hose will stick out over here on the side, and it will allow me to put the injector onto it. Just put 2 bolts crosswise for right now, and then do the cleaning, and then when we take it back off and we reassemble it for the final version, then we'll put all 4 bolts on. 2 bolts will be good enough on here for right now for the cleaning procedure. Once we're done putting the throttle housing on, we're going to have to reconnect the boot because this is a pressurized system. Make sure it's locked and secured. Now we're going to take this hose and we're going to connect the injector to it. We're going to go ahead and take the 3C nozzle, and we're going to connect the 3C nozzle directly to the hose that we've already attached to the throttle assembly. Now we're going to take the clamp, and remember this clamp has an accelerometer in it. It's going to need to be connected directly to the engine, so when the engine is running and this shakes, the intelligent induction analyzer's computer system will see the vibration of the engine and allow the system to work. Now that we've got this connected, let's go ahead and connect the battery. We're going to go ahead and connect the positive lead to the positive post of the battery, and we're going to take a ground assembly and connect it to a good ground on the vehicle. This will now allow current flow for the 3C system to operate. On this BMW N55, this incorporates a Valvetronic system. A Valvetronic system is where the engine is throttled by the valve opening and not the throttle opening. So the throttle valve is open all the way up, and the valve opening is maintained very slight, and as I want more, I get more valve opening due to a rocker assembly. We don't want that when we're cleaning, so on this system, we're going to pull the Valvetronic off of the system. Once this Valvetronic is removed from this valve cover, what's going to happen is the rocker shaft will be defaulted. A spring will move it to where the valve opening is a full 1/2 inch, and now the computer will default by using the throttle plate. That will create vacuum in the intake system, so we now have vacuum to suck the chemical in with. On all of the BMW and Mini products that use Valvetronic, this will have to be removed to have vacuum in the intake system in order to clean the vehicle. Now that we've connected the 3C to this vehicle, let's go ahead and get it running. Take the emergency stop switch and rotate it clockwise. That will unlock it. Now we're going to go ahead, and this is a 6-cylinder engine, so we're going to pick 6 cylinders. We're going to arm it. This means that we're ready to go. But in order to make this run, we're going to have the engine running. If I try to start this machine with a start clean prior to having the engine running, it will beep 3 times. The beep indicator is on the back of the machine, but 3 beeps is telling me I don't have a running sensor. The engine's not running. So let's go ahead and start the engine up. Now the start clean lamp is blinking. Once this is blinking, it sees that the engine is running and we're ready to clean. We're going to go ahead and start the clean. We have 10 seconds to get into the vehicle and raise the throttle. Once we've started the 3C system and we're ready to clean it, we want to open the throttle up and run the engine between 25 and 35 with a target at about 3,000. Every 30 seconds, the machine is going to have a rapid beep. When this beeps, let your foot off the throttle and very rapidly give a couple of throttle increases and then hold it at 3,000. Once the cleaning process is started, we need to monitor the catalytic temperatures. We want the catalytic temperatures to stay under 1400 to 1450 degrees Fahrenheit. Sometimes by lowering the RPM to around 2800, we can reduce these temperatures of the cat. If the cat temperature starts to reach 1450 to 1500 degrees, we're going to turn off the engine and restart it. When the engine is turned off, the 3C will see this and it will automatically stop giving chemical. Go ahead and let the cat temperature cool as you're holding it at around 2000 RPM. Once the cat temperature is reached about 1250 degrees, restart the 3C system and continue to clean. If the engine starts to limit your throttle opening where you can't rev the car and you start to lose throttle control, go ahead and shut the engine off quickly with your foot on the brake and restart it and go back and just start to clean it again. Now I have throttle control once again. At the end of the cleaning process, the 3C Intelligent Induction Cleaner is going to put on an audible alarm, and it will be on solidly. You'll know that this is done. Basically, an 8-cylinder engine is 10 minutes, a 6-cylinder engine is 12 minutes, and a 4-cylinder engine is going to be about 14 minutes. Once the alarm is going off, go ahead and get out of the car and kill the machine by hitting the emergency stop switch. Go ahead and kill the engine, and now we're going to remove the apparatus from the engine and we're going to put the engine back together. But you're not done yet. You're going to need to clear the codes and we're going to need to drive the car. Once you start the car and we're driving it, we need to be on a road where it's safe to go to a wide open throttle position. We're only in first gear, so we're not getting a top speed. What you're going to do is you're going to slowly roll into the throttle, and if there's no audible ignition, just go ahead and go wide open and let some air flow, and that's clearing all the chemical out. If you start to hear light pre-ignition during the wide open throttle, back out right away. Now slowly roll back into the throttle, and if you hear any audible pre-ignition, back out, and go ahead and apply it again. We want to do this very slow roll-in until we clear any chemical puddling from the induction system. The different engines will all have different tendencies. Some will have more puddling than others, but most engines will take between 1 and 3 accelerations to totally clear any chemical out of the intake manifold. Once the chemical is cleared out of the intake manifold, this vehicle will be ready to return to your customer. It will have better throttle response, better power, and better fuel economy. Thank you for your time today.